Good morning, Commissioner Clark.
Good morning, Janelle. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you on this wonderfully gray Thursday morning?
Typical January day, huh?
Yeah, I heard that we're under a snow alert today, so we might get a few inches of snow, I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, that's not too bad, I guess.
No, it is winter in Wisconsin, so can't complain, I guess.
Right. So morning, Michael.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing good.
I like your background there.
Thank you.
Sun coming up.
Exactly. If I was at the plant 2 hours ago, this is what it would look like, and not cloudy like this. So,
Yeah.
or maybe not 2 hours, maybe an hour ago. So,
Well, hopefully we can get back to normal by the end of this year. I'm optimistic.
Oh my gosh, I know.
If I never have another employment-related COVID discussion, it'll be too soon.
And just think of how much more time we'll have to do other things.
That's a great point.
And all consuming. It's in some ways, it's just been so much part of
Yeah.
everything we discussed today. And
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, well, I'm just gonna put myself on hold until the meeting starts.
you got it.
Good morning, Commissioner Bookland. Good morning, Commissioner Swanson.
Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you, can hear you. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Thank you, can hear you. Good morning, Eric.
Sorry, I was on mute. Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Bookland.
Good morning, Janelle. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much. I can hear you perfectly.
Good.
Good morning, Todd.
Morning, Janelle.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioner Foster.
Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Hobble.
Good morning, Janelle. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, doing fair.
All right. Good morning, Commissioner Wilson. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello,
Thank you.
Commissioner Hubble. Commissioner Murphy just sent us a note earlier that he may be a couple minutes. He might be joining the meeting a couple minutes late.
Thank you, Michael.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Good morning.
Thank you. We can hear you. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Janelle. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Can hear you.
Great.
Good morning, Eric Dundee.
Good morning.
Thank you. We can hear you. Good morning, Bruce.
Morning, Janelle.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, I think it's 8 o'clock. We have a quorum. I haven't seen if Ezra's come on yet.
I have not seen Commissioner Meyer come on yet.
And Sarah on?
I have not, oh, I see her. She's just coming in right now.
Oh, okay. So we got Sarah, so we're missing Brad, might be a few minutes late. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to all of our guests. Excuse me, Janelle, do you want to go through the virtual meeting guidance, please?
Certainly. So good morning, commissioners, members of the public and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all. Number 1, please ensure your mic is muted unless you are speaking. Number 2, please state your name before speaking. Number 3, in general, please have your camera on if possible if you're speaking. This includes for staff. If you're having any technical problems, you are able to turn your camera off and continue with presenting. And number 4, as a reminder, the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if you need to. So those are the decorum rules as updated from the November 12th, 2020 Commission topic on the Zoom protocol. And let's have a great meeting, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. Michael, do you have any announcements?
Excuse me. Yes, I do. I have one announcement. And I just wanted to share with the commission that as of January 1st, Bill Walker has taken on the new responsibilities as senior director. And if we were in person at the maintenance facility, he would be joining the commission at the table and sitting at the table with us, but he'll have to do that virtually for the time being. As a senior director, Bill will serve in my absence, which is an important requirement in the commission policy book, requiring that I have a succession plan. And so Bill will be fulfilling that role. And he also, as being part of and a member of the table for commission meetings, has freedom to interject at commission meetings where he feels it is necessary to support the commission's governance responsibilities, and I have given him license to correct or clarify me if I'm being vague or misleading, not on purpose, of course. So let's just welcome Bill to the table.
Congratulations, Bill. Welcome to the new position. Okay.
I'll use my newfound permission to interject to say I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
That's good. Okay, so Michael, you're going to update, introduce Michael Lipsky.
Yes, I am. I'm really excited to introduce our new HR manager, Mike Lipsky. He was hired from a pool of over 100 candidates. And what he possesses and what we were looking for included being approachable, having deep knowledge on municipal HR, because as a really a two-person HR department, he has to know it all. And we are also looking for a proven change maker, which Mike is. He has a bachelor's and master's degrees in HR and labor relations. Some of you may already know Mike. He came to us from the city of Madison, where he served as an HR services manager for 12 years. And before that, serving for the Labor Relations Board for eight years. He is highly regarded and respected by his former supervisors, peers, and employees, and known to be thorough, thoughtful, and open. And one of the things that really impressed us was his successful track record of tackling really emerging and HR strategic issues such as inclusion, leadership development, and hiring for diversity. In his 2 weeks on the job, he has already made progress, including assisting employees who are preparing for retirement, tackling the question of benefits for part-time employees, and attention to ELC needs. So let's welcome Mike Lipsky to the district.
Welcome, Mike. Okay, we've got some good shoes to fill. And then Nathaniel Hayden's going to introduce Nathan Schick.
Good morning, I'm Nathaniel Hayden. Yeah, I'm introducing Nathan Schick. He's the newest operator at the district. He is one of the nighttime 12-hour operators, and he's not here because of the nature of his work schedule. He graduated from UW Stevens Point with a bachelor's in waste management. Previously interned at the Columbus Wastewater Treatment Plant. He enjoys being outdoors, mainly hiking, hunting, and fishing. And he's shown a real skill and hunger to learn more about the wastewater industry. He's coming up on his 6 months here, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Nathaniel. Okay, then we've got proclamations. The first one is honoring Mark Rips' years of service. Michael?
Yes, I'm here to serve up the proclamation for Mark, who has served the district for 27 years. Joining the district in 1993, he started in building and grounds and then progressed, ending his career as a senior journeyman mechanic. He has made countless mechanical contributions to the district, including leading important work like installation of new ferric chloride pumps, rebuilding the Waukesha engine used to power MMSD plant generators, and rebuilds to the district's 15 Fogelsang rotary low pump. Mark is really patient, and his interest in training new apprentices will be his lasting and lingering legacy to the district. He's a very knowledgeable and good problem solver. Mark, commissioners may recall the generator failure project a few years ago where we had to remove and send the engine down south for a professional rebuild. And when that generator returned and was put back into service, the engine leaked oil like a sieve. And it was Mark and members of the mechanical team who assessed the situation, that the contractor used inferior gaskets, and Mark and the team replaced all the faulty gaskets, and the system was up and running within a couple of days. And it just shows you just the expertise of our team. And Mark also, even though he is retiring, he is probably one of the fittest people I know. I recall a time last year when he was showing me a pump rebuild in the building where the MetroGrow pumps are located, and we're down quite a ways. And he asked me to carry one of 3 bags of tools up 3 stories of stairs. And he was carrying 2 bags of tools. And as we ascended the flights, he was talking to me the whole time and asking me questions, and while I was gasping for air and seeing stars. And so it just shows that the work of being a mechanic, you just need to be smart, you have to be fit, and he's probably touched every piece of equipment that the district has, and knows something about every piece of equipment. And so it's going to be a big loss to the districts, but we want to join. I'd like the commission to join me in congratulating Mark for his dedicated service to the district.
Oh yeah, congratulations, Mark. We're losing a well-skilled employee, it sounds like. It's sad to see that, but everybody has retirement come at some point, so congratulations on that. Okay, and then Michael, Dave Lundy.
Yeah, Dave Lundy is also retiring, and Dave served the district for 30 years, joining in 1990. And during Dave's career, he served as the electrical construction and maintenance supervisor until 2005, and then moved to his current position as electrical construction manager. He has successfully guided countless electrical projects for the district over his tenure, and this included numerous pumping station rehabilitations and work in the current liquid processing improvements project. He is responsible for electrical design standards, electrical construction management, and electrical inspection for all recent district capital projects, and contributed to significant district-wide developments such as selection of the district's first computerized maintenance management system. He also is a champion for the industrial electrical apprenticeship program and advocating for the use of the district's lagoon as a wildlife habitat area. Dave has been a strong and vocal opponent of using new technology wherever possible, and always looking to improve efficiency in moving the district to new areas such as wireless communication. On a personal level, Dave is very dedicated and passionate about the environment and about clean water. And he approached every day with a what if mindset, and which is a rare quality in a person. And I really appreciated that about Dave. I can't even count the number of times that Dave stopped me in the hallway or in my office and said, you know, I've been thinking about how we should be doing something better or differently, and would just present to me just a very creative idea. And it was always something I have never thought of before, and I really enjoyed those interactions. Many of his ideas were integrated into the construction work, including one that improved system redundancy and to actually reduce the amount of cabling on one of our large plant projects, making our plant more resilient and using fewer natural resources. He was also responsible for the design and the efforts to light up our tunnels with a system that uses virtually no energy, and our staff working in the tunnels can actually see what they're doing without a headlamp. So it created more safety and security. So Dave, we're going to miss you too, and I'd like the commission to congratulate Dave in his retirement.
Well, congratulations, Dave. It sounds like a creative individual that's going into retirement. If nothing else, the district's become more and more dependent on electrical types of equipment and pieces and monitoring and everything else. Okay, let's see here. That takes us to the consent calendar. We have the approval of minutes of, let's see, do we have any appearances by the public? Okay, I don't hear anybody. Okay, then something happened to my microphone. I must have clicked in the wrong spot. Okay, no appearances by the public. That'll take us to the consent calendar. We have the approval of minutes of 12/17. Cash statements, operating and capital projects. Review and approval of sanitary sewer extensions for Autumn Lake Phase 11. And then a few street reconstruction projects, all in the city of Madison. Acceptance of work for Pump Station 7 improvements. Award of contract, total cost, project final clarifier 456, effluent launder replacements. Authorized agreement for maintenance and support of the district's Oracle WAM system. And then review of approvable proposals and award a contract for WordPress website design. Do anybody have any questions before we get a motion?
I'll move approval of the items in the consent calendar. It's Wilson.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent calendar. Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Meyer.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Meyer. Okay, so motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Meyer to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, thank you. That takes us to item 4 topics. 4A is the approval of fourth quarter sewer service charges. And some information came in a separate email yesterday. Todd, you're going to lead this off.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Hubble. Yeah, I'm Todd Giebert, Capital Planning Engineer for the district. Obviously, 2020 was a very crazy year for everyone in a lot of ways, and service charges was definitely no exception. COVID has its imprint all over service charges for 2020. So I'd like to cover 3 broad areas today with today's presentation. The first is I'd like to review flows and loads for not only Q4, but the year 2020 with some of the trends that we observed. Next, I'd like to get into comparing the revenue projections from 2021 and how they matched up with the fourth quarter results. And then finally wrap up by looking at what we can expect for 2021. So with that, service charges for the fourth quarter were just a little over $9.9 million. This is about $480,000 less than budgeted. And so for the year, we are down about $1.78 million. That, of course, is a very big number, but it is actually less than what we forecast in the 2021 operating budget. In that budget, we assumed that for 2020, we would have revenues of $41.333 million, and we came in at 39.4, or that was the estimate, so 1.933. So we're under by about $150,000, which is obviously good news. The other thing to note here on this table is you see that for the all 4 quarters, we were under budget by about the same amount, about $450,000. But there are various reasons why, and I'd like to go through a little bit about that. This is a slide showing our running total of our service charge revenue from January 1st through the end of the year. So Q1, obviously mainly pre-pandemic. First quarter revenues are typically under budget just because we have drier weather. And then we moved into the pandemic in mid-March, and you see a steep decline there. Things bottomed out a little bit with when things began to open up again in June and July in phase 1 and phase 2. But then they went down again in phase 3, so or in Q3. So in Q2 and Q3, we saw a sharp drop off in the volume parameters and all of our pollutant loading parameters. And then in Q4, that same kind of decline occurs, but for different reasons, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. So looking at the graph of our billable parameters, comparing actual revenues to budgeted revenues, this is for the year to date. So again, the $1.78 million below budget. You see it's kind of evenly distributed among all the measured parameters, that being volume and the 4 pollutant parameters. Very odd to see the 4 pollutant parameters that far under budget, obviously. You will note that meters and customers are on the positive side, which indicates that we're still having growth in the Madison area. The housing market still seems to be fairly strong in the local economy. So if there's good news, it's in that direction. Comparing the same the parameters, only this is just for Q4, you see a different picture though. In this case, almost all of the shortfall is due to the volume parameter, which means that we obviously had dry weather in the months of October to December, and flows have really dropped off quite remarkably during that time. You also notice that the pollutant parameters are almost right on budget, which is strange even for a so-called normal year. We would not expect this. We'd expect them to be under budget a little bit. It's just the trend that we see from year to year. So a little bit of a different quarter with the same result though, the same net result of it being about $480,000 below budget. So next I'd like to get into how we predicted or projected revenues in the 2021 operating budget and how they compared to the service charges in the fourth quarter. So this takes us back to August of 2020 when we made those projections. And when we make the projections, we're only looking at results from January through July of that year, and then forecasting the remaining months based on prior years, what those ratios of forecast months to actual data that we have in prior years. So In August, we assumed that we would be under budget by $1.9 million. We let the third quarter pass by, and then we made another projection in October. And at that time, we thought we would be a little over $2 million below budget. Not enough to change the 2021 operating budget, so we let it go before the budget was adopted in late October. And then you see the final result there in December of $1.8 million. So everything looks kind of good. We actually came in better than we expected, but the route we took to get there was unexpected. And to show you that, I have to dive into some of the numbers just a little bit. So this is the flow projection by itself that we used. And the blue line here is showing actual flows for each month of 2020. And then the red line is what we were using for projections. So as you can see, the flows really did drop off. And if this were the only thing that was off, we would have been under budget more than $1.8 million. But fortunately, the pollutant parameters went the other way. So these are similar plots for the 4 pollutant parameters. And you can see in all cases that our projections are below what actually happened. And the trends are very strong. For instance, total nitrogen and total phosphorus show very good trends for both projection and the actual loadings, but the actual loadings are much higher than we expected. Is this an indicator that things are improving? Businesses coming back online? Perhaps, although it's probably still too early to tell, but it's a good sign. And luckily it happened, or again, our budget shortfall might have been much worse. So one final word about volume, since it is so important in our rate setting. This is looking at monthly flows to the plant for the last 4 years. And you can see here in December of 2020, one of the lowest flows that we've had to the plant in the last 4 years, just over 37.1 million gallons per day. Not the lowest flow by any means over the last 4 years. In December of 2017, we were at 37.2. So that's a very comparable year. We had about 38 inches of rain in each of those years. So I guess the important thing to note here is this isn't unprecedented to have a flow this low, and it can rebound very quickly. You see in 2018 and 2019, we had over 45 inches of rain both of those years, and we had a surplus in the flow revenue parameter. So it's hard to say what 2021 will bring, but the other thing to note is that we did lower the volume estimate in our budget to 40.82 next year, which is I think 8.4% decrease. So we're a little low on volume heading into 2021, but in decent shape, I would say. Looking at some of the other loadings for next year, not only did we drop the volume loading, but also the 4 pollutant parameters. You see 10.8% for CBOD, down to 5.5% for nitrogen and phosphorus. And this is all in response to COVID, basically, and the loadings that we saw in 2020. So what we're saying here is that we expect 2021 to be very similar, if not the same, to 2020, and that the pandemic will linger throughout 2021. But still having some growth in the local housing economy. For community bills, this slide is showing actual charges and budgeted charges for each of our customers, and then percent of budget ending in December of 2020. As you would expect, the larger customers, the cities and the villages, are all about 4 to 5% below budget. They tend to have more commercial, institutional, and industrial uses, so we'd expect them to be lower. The towns that are smaller customers and sanitary districts are more shielded from the effects of the pandemic since they're more residential, so they're closer to budget than anyone else. 2 particular customers that kind of stand out at opposite ends of the spectrum, the town of Dunn, number 1, at 84% of budget. This district is located along the shores of Lake Wapisa, so they are prone to problems with inflow and infiltration. So we've had 2 very wet years in 2018 and 2019. So we raised their budget estimate for flow, and then we had a dry year. So that would explain why they would come in lower than budgeted. On the other end of the spectrum, the village of Cottage Grove at over about 11% over budget. They had very high pollutant loadings from quarters 1 through quarter 3. And we actually went out and met with their utility commission in November to explain what was happening and describe our rate setting procedure. It went very well, that meeting. And The good news is that their fourth quarter loadings are back to more normal levels, but the village is looking into possibly doing a sampling program if things persist and those sources of pollutants come back. So just to summarize, this is a slide you've probably seen before. It's looking back at the last 10 years, comparing actual to budgeted revenues and where they lie. Obviously, we'd like to be at 100% every year. That doesn't happen. So you see 2020 is very low. It's the lowest in the last 10 years, but it's still not too bad, you know, amidst the global pandemic. For the last 10 years, with all these numbers, the average is about 100.3% of our collections. And over the last 5 years, it's about 101%. So we're still doing very good over the long term in collecting the revenues that we need to operate the district. So I guess the two thoughts that I'll leave you with are, number one, our shortfall was less than we expected or had predicted. So then no adjustments to the 2021 operating budget are needed. And number two, we're lowering the loadings for 2021 and appear to be in good shape heading into the new year. So with that, the requested action today is for the commission to approve the sewer service charges for the fourth quarter of 2021 through resolution R7. And with that, I'll take any questions the commission may have.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before we move on to get a motion? My participant list went away. I don't see any hands raised. So do we have a motion to approve the fourth quarter service charges for 2020?
This is Commissioner Bookland. I will move to approve the charges.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bookland. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Swanson.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Bookland, second by Commissioner Swanson to approve the fourth quarter service charges. Do you have any comments or anything else before we move on?
Thanks to Todd.
What's that, Ezra?
Just thanks to Todd for good work.
Yep. Yeah, nice graphs, Todd.
Thank you.
I like the one with the loadings and the precipitation. That helps explain a lot, or the volume of the precipitation. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the fourth quarter sewer service charges, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, that will take us to the review of bids and award a contract for the West Interceptor Shorewood Relief. Eric, got some good bids on that project.
Yes, we did. It came in, we were very happy when the bids came in. Thank you. Yes, I'm Eric Jellin. I'm a project engineer with the district, and I'll be presenting the West Interceptor Shorewood Relief. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. The West Interceptor Shorewood Relief Phase 1. I'm going to have two items under this bid. Actually, I think that's on the next slide. But before I move on, I guess just a little brief description of what you're seeing in this photo here. This is
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Janelle, but you need to put it in your presenter view. You're in us. We see all your thumbnails right now.
Oh. All right. I'm sorry. We did do a practice run yesterday. I thought I knew what I was doing here.
That one that says from beginning right there underneath where your cursor is will get you going.
Yeah, I've clicked that and it went over to my laptop screen for some reason. I've got two screens up, and if you want to bear with me, I could start it up.
I think we're okay, Eric. You could just move forward.
Okay. Can you see it now?
No,
we can't see it. We see a whole list of items from capital improvement plan.
Okay.
I think we can see it enough,
You can see
Eric,
it enough? Okay.
in the
All
view
right.
you had before.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. We did do
okay.
a practice run and apparently didn't do it
That
in
happens.
the right way. Anyway, again, the description of what you're seeing in this photo is approximately the eastern third or so of the project corridor. It's in the railroad corridor that you see there. It's Locust Street is the street to the right. And then there's Pick and Save and the UW Credit Union. The buildings in the background are the UW Hospital and the University of Madison campus. The projects in Shorewood.
Eric, I don't see that screen, Eric. I think you have to go back to where you were. I think there was.
Yeah. What I'm seeing is a.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's better.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to do a. Are you seeing a different screen now?
Yeah, we left the PowerPoint now and went to your desktop.
Okay, now can you see?
Now we're looking
Now
good.
you got it
All right.
right.
Yay. All right. Okay. Technology. Okay. So again, this picture is basically the corridor that we're going to be in. And in this part of the corridor, we're actually going to be replacing this line. If you can see my cursor, the green line in the middle to the left of the railroad tracks is the existing West Interceptor relief, which was installed in 1959. We need new capacity for that. So we're going to be, it's a tight corridor. There wasn't much room. So we're actually going to be taking that sewer out and putting a new larger sewer in the exact same location. So an outline of this presentation, I'll give a little bit on the project, and then I'm actually presenting on 2 items today, the review of bids and award of contract to the contractor for resolution R8. And then item 2 is the award of contract for the construction services to Strand Engineering. The project location, it's located in mostly in the village of Shorewood Hills, in the railroad corridor, and a very small portion on the west side is located in the city of Madison Indian Hills Park. Another thing to note is that this is actually phase 1 out of 3 phases of the West Interceptor Shorewood relief. It'll be built over 3 years. Phase 2 will be built in 2022. And phase 1 in 2023, phase 3, I'm sorry, in 2023. Phase 1 is the largest of the 3 phases. And the reason for this project is what you're seeing in this graphic here is actually the CED Report from 2019. And the sewer in red is the existing West Interceptor relief. The reason it's in red is that indicates that it's in need of capacity right now. And over on the western side of the project, the green, that's a little farther out, so it doesn't need capacity right now. But as you get over to phase 3, and phase 2 and phase 3, we're going to need capacity again in the short to medium term. So that's the need for the project and approximate location. This is the same area, the scope of the project. So that line in red is actually this, it's got the dotted line and then the dark blue line. The new sewer we're putting in on this graphic is the dark green line and the dark blue line. So this is, again, this is pump station 5. Pump station 5 is to the left of this graphic here. This is the red line is the force main from pump station 15, pump station 5, discharges into the existing West Interceptor relief. And we will be picking up that flow 1 or 2 sections downstream of the discharge of the force main. So we'll start in Indian Hills Park and build approximately 1,800 feet of new sewer, abandon the old West Interceptor relief that's actually in the Blackhawk Country Club, the golf course right now. And then about 3,850 feet will be constructed in the railroad corridor. That whole section is going to be placed in the same location as the existing West Interceptor relief. So that West Interceptor relief will be removed as we install the new pipe. So the scope of work is 5,700 feet of Hobos pipe. There's two sizes, 30-inch and 36-inch. The majority of this project's in Wisconsin DOT railroad corridor. There will also be bike path replacement from Indian Hills Park. Approximately 1,000 feet of bike path we'll have to take out and replace. Bypass pumping will be a large part of this project too. Since we're removing the existing interceptor, we're going to have to bypass around that. The project was advertised in November of 2020. We advertised in the Wisconsin State Journal and in Quest CDN online. There's a lot of interest still in our projects. We had 7 pre-qualified bidders, and I actually had calls from 2 contractors after the pre-qualification date had passed. I had another 2 contractors call, so that's good news. There's still a lot of interest for bidding out there. Bid results, as you've seen, they're pretty good. Advanced construction came in low at approximately $3.4 million, which was really quite low. The next lowest bid was Vite and Company. They're fairly new to us. Actually, they've never bid on any of our projects before, but they were about 4.4. So I called Advance after the bid results because we get a little concerned when we see a bid that's that much lower than other bids. I talked to the president and his son of the company. His son had put the bid together, and although of course they would love to have a redo or a do-over on this one, they were confident that they can accomplish the project for that price. So with that construction bid price, the current estimate has gone down quite a bit from the 2021 budget estimate for the construction cost of this project. I meant to talk a little bit more on that slide. I accidentally clicked, but anyway, so the recommendation and next steps, we recommend to award the construction contract to Advanced Construction at their low bid amount of $3,410,465.50. And then if approved, the construction schedule is March through December of this year. And so now I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Eric? Okay, I don't see any hands up.
You're muted.
Yep, sorry. Do we have a motion to approve the contract award and resolution 2021-01-14-R8?
Wilson, I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by?
I'll second Commissioner Clark.
Second by Commissioner Clark. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Clark to approve the West Interceptor Shorewood Relief Phase 1 project. Any comments or questions or anything? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Eric. And then you'll move on to item 4C, the West Interceptor, the construction phase engineering services.
Yep. Okay, item 2, construction phase engineering services. So Strand Associates, they are the the engineer of record. They completed the project design, not only of phase 1, they designed phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. We're satisfied with their services and their proposal is reasonable when compared to other proposals. So the proposal from Strand is for $195,000 for construction services. Included in that proposal, their scope of services would be, it's listed there, surveying, permit approvals, assistance. They're going to distribute contract documents, and with that is including all the addenda items. They take addendums and merge them into the contract documents. They will attend meetings, take notes, and prepare agendas and take minutes at those meetings. Periodic site visits. They'll help with submittals and responses to requests for information. Also assist with change orders, and when it's all done, then they'll prepare record drawings. The cost on this one is the 2021 budget was $1,430,000, and the current estimate is $1,319,000. The reason that's so much higher again is because it includes all 3 phases for staff time and consultant services. Our recommendation is approval of the construction services in the amount of $195,000 to Strand Associates per the resolution. And once again, if there are any questions, all these photos, by the way, are from the construction corridor.
Okay, any questions on the engineering services for the West Interceptor relief?
Commissioner Meyer here. I had one.
Go ahead, Ezra.
Just making sure I caught this right, Eric. We're looking to sign on Strand for the construction phase engineering for phase 1, but when you were showing us the budget anticipated phases 1, 2, and 3. Did I catch that distinction right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So for now, we're only bringing them on to do the phase 1, and we'll deal with 2 and 3 down the road. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Was that a motion, Ezra, then? Or?
I am happy to move the resolution.
Okay.
I'll second it, Wilson.
Motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Wilson to approve the engineering services for phase 1. Any other comments? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So that will take us to item 5A, the CED update. Michael?
Thank you, President Hovell. I do have a few reports, and starting with end of year review for Stafford Rosenbaum. The commission may recall we entered into another agreement with Stafford that outlines continuous service to the district and with annual reviews. And Paul Kent and I conducted a review in December. And the conclusion of that review was that the Stafford continues to provide solid regulatory work. They have this last year on PFAS related work and our permit. They've engaged with staff very well and directly, attending our weekly staff meeting for agenda setting. And they've been very responsive to contract and general government issues. Paul and I really discussed what's going to be our legal agenda or our focus areas for 2021. Many times with legal, you cannot anticipate what's going to come up. But some of the kind of longer term projects and shorter term issues are we want to shore up our human resources and labor relations, legal support, and to support our efforts, we use a lot of Stafford's time for human resources related support and issues. We want to strengthen ties with DNR leadership at a staff to staff level. Paul has always had very strong ties with DNR leadership, and we have developed a plan for how to strengthen that at the staff level, because there's been so many retirements at the DNR, at the top levels of the DNR, and changes that we want to be more conscious about what we're doing there. We want Stafford to build policy governance expertise in their legal work to support the commission and their policy book. and something that's been on my list for a couple of years, and something that I think it's just time for us to get done is to create standard forms of agreement for all of our contracts. And we don't have standard agreements. Many times we're using agreements from our contractors or vendors, and we want to put some effort into that this year. And we'll try to work within the monthly retainer to get that work done. But likely I will be authorizing some special services to go above and beyond our hourly amount to get this work done, because it's really a risk management issue for the district, and making sure that we're covered and when we enter into agreements. And I just want to defer to Paul to see if there's other aspects of the review you'd like to share.
Just a couple of things, and it was very helpful to kind of just take the time to go back, look at things that are working well, things that we could be doing better, for the coming year. And I think one of the things on our end that we're looking at doing is making sure that there's kind of a principle and backup for each of our various kind of legal service areas for the district, both regulatory, contracts and easements, local government, and human relations. So we're going to make sure that people at the district have got contact people in the event that I'm not immediately available. I think we will be, I will in particular be spending a little bit more time with the policy governance, but also making sure that the other people that are at Stafford working with the district are aware of that and are up to speed with that. And, I think in terms of work with the department to kind of make sure that the contacts we have there can, inure a little bit more directly to the benefit of the district. So I've already had a chance to talk with Todd Ames in that regard on kind of a walk around Vilas Park a few weeks ago to try and ensure that we have some regular contact there, and we'll be following up with some other folks at the department too. So looking forward to new challenges and hopefully getting back to a situation where we can be doing a little bit more face-to-face work later this year. So appreciated the opportunity and really glad to continue the work for the district.
President Hovell, I'll just stop there for a minute to see before I move on if there's any questions from the commission before I move on.
Anybody have any questions? I do like the idea of standardized contracts and everything for professional services. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think particularly, and we've seen that with some other utilities, but I think particularly a lot of the standard forms tend to be a little bit written more for the contractors and the engineers rather than the person for whom the work, the owner, if you will, that's being done. So
I agree with that. The AIA form in particular for buildings is certainly written in favor of the architect. Okay.
Okay, I'll keep moving on. I have a few more reports. When we left last year's commission meeting in December, you may recall that we were meeting with the DNR that afternoon in our interest-based process on our ongoing discussions regarding the extended disinfection season that's in our permit. And I'm really pleased to say that we reached agreement with the DNR at that meeting, and all of our interests and the interests of the DNR, the top interests, were satisfied through that process. And the next step is we're waiting for a summary letter from Adrian Stocks from the DNR that summarizes our agreement. And once we receive that and we're comfortable with it, we plan to return to the commission with a recommendation of what we should do with our contested case which is hanging out there. So that may come in 2 weeks. It may come in 4 weeks. So we just don't know at this point. But really, I'm pretty excited with where we landed with our discussions with the DNR. Is a real positive process.
Good.
The other thing regarding the ELC, the executive team received the awaited report from the Employee Leadership Council on opportunities to improve the employee experience in December. And the commission may remember they saw a version of that report earlier in the year it was a 16 or 13-page report. And with the ELC's new facilitator, they were able to distill that 13 pages of content into a couple of core issues that we're now working on. When we use, you're going to hear us use the word employee experience a lot, and it's used to describe a sense of well-being and value and overall satisfaction with people in their jobs and employees in their jobs, and to tie it to the pillar in our strategic plan, which we have a goal of having a culture of positive engagement. And so that is really the underpinnings for the work here. The ELC shared with the executive team some stated interests around unity, decision impact, and transparency, with some broader interests around communicating initiatives and confidence in decision-making processes. So we're moving forward with some follow-ups, with some joint teams between the ELC and E-team. They are occurring, and we're going to be reconvening as a full group in February to document our progress. As of the first of the year, and Mike Lipsky and Bill Walker are my appointments to the ELC, and they are fully engaged and are supporting the ELC's success through their deliberations. So that's where we're at with the ELC, and there'll be more good things to come out of those discussions. A few other things. That I sent you a note, the commissioners a note last week that our PFAS microsite is live, and I want to thank Amanda and Marty for really doing some amazing work to get that microsite up. And the driver for the site is to have a single source of information and education about PFAS and wastewater and biosolids. And we really wanted to get ahead of when we have monitoring data that comes out, that the public has a place to go for information about PFAS, how they can play a role in minimizing PFAS, both at homes and businesses, and knowledge about PFAS in wastewater and biosolids. This website will be emerging as we learn more, and it is really intended to be dynamic. So that's out there and is being promoted in the community. And I want to thank Commissioner Wilson for pushing it out to some of his connections and colleagues up in the in your neck of the woods up there. So thank you for doing that. We also, the DNR is performing PFAS testing, and they're scheduled to collect and analyze samples from our effluent. And on January 20th, the DNR has authority under state law to enter and take samples of permitted discharges, and they are undergoing sampling efforts statewide to get a representative sample from different size treatment plants from around the state. So Green Bay has already been sampled, and we expect at some point those results will be available. They're actually sending the samples out of state since we do not have certified labs here in the state. So we don't know when those results will be available, but they will be publicly available at some point. So with that, President Hubble, that concludes my report. If there are any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Michael? Michael, do you know if the lab they're sending it to is one that we had on our list for them to certify?
I don't know. I have to follow up on that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, and because I don't really know where they sit with the certification of the different labs that had applied either.
Well, I can just interject and answer that question for you, Commissioner Hubble.
Oh,
Actually, the DNR samples that they are collecting will be sent to the State Lab of Hygiene for analysis. So that's who they're using.
Oh.
State Lab of Hygiene is not an available lab on a list for other entities to use for PFAS certification. So they're not an option for us for obvious reasons. It's their state lab.
okay. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks,
I didn't realize
thanks for that correction, Marty.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
But I thought the State Lab of Hygiene would usually do testing for other entities, but maybe in PFAS.
They do, but when it becomes to regulated parameters, that's when it gets different.
Got it, because
PFAS is not regulated, but this is part of a rulemaking process for regulation, so it's close enough.
Got it. So they want to keep the hands off as not a state entity. Got it. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, that will move us to
Commissioner
oops.
Hubble.
Yeah.
You're muting yourself.
Oh, I just turned it off. It was okay. Amanda's going to brief us on the strategic communications and marketing plan.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Hubble, and good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I am the Communications and Public Affairs Manager here at the district. Give me a moment here while I pull up my presentation, but I'm going to give you a briefing on sorry, one second here. Give you a briefing on the strategic communications and marketing plan that has been developed here for the district. So just want to kind of, I seem to have skipped a slide. There we go. So just to kind of provide a little bit of background information. So I love plans. I'm a planner. I like checklists. But when I started here at the district, the communications plan that I was left didn't really have a lot of meat to it, didn't have a lot of actionable items. Instead, it was more of a laundry list of messages and audiences and possibilities, not really a concrete plan with strategies and tactics. So it also covered internal and external communications. And while there's synergies between those two, I really wanted to break them out. So what we're looking at and talking about today is specifically external communications. I'll also just add here, as you see here on the slide, the title here, it says communications and marketing. So I'll just talk briefly that, when we talk about these things, it's a little bit of blurred lines. So communication supports marketing, marketing supports communication, but they both really kind of have their own wheelhouses. So this really kind of encapsulates all of that. So the PR, video, social media, digital graphics, sort of all of that kind of put into one place. So with that, I'll get a little bit deeper into the plan here. So I spent quite a bit of time figuring out what was the best way to approach the development of the plan. And what I landed on was a goal-focused plan. And so using what is called the GHOST approach, so goals, strategies, and tactics. And so the goals are broad, long-term, kind of big picture things. All of the goals, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in an upcoming slide, are grounded within the district's strategic plan. The strategies, those are how we're going to accomplish those goals. So they're larger initiatives that directly support the goals. And they're kind of a whole deliverable within themselves. And then the tactics are the individual actions that support each strategy. So why did I choose this approach? In part because communications marketing is so broad. So I didn't want our plan to get so laser focused that it didn't provide flexibility. We also, within marketing communications, have lots of different avenues that we can pursue, and there's a lot of good things we could do. And this approach really felt the best way to approach all of that. Again, as I mentioned, it is grounded in the strategic pillars. And so kind of the second step after deciding the approach was to develop the goals. And again, wanting to tie them back into our strategic plan. So I developed 10 possible goals. I also reached out to our pollution prevention team to see what goals that they were tracking towards in their plans. And so from the list that I brainstormed and P2's list, luckily there was some alignment between a number of them, came up with 10 possible goals. So 10 would be a lot to track towards. So the goal was to winnow it down to 5. And so from there, I led the executive team through a goal setting exercise where before even seeing the 10 possible goals, they had the opportunity to suggest goals. And luckily, any that were suggested were aligned with what it was already going to be presented, not word for word per se, but there was alignment there. So that helped to confirm sort of the line of thinking. And then from there, I asked the executive team to rank those goals in order of preference. And those were the 5 goals that shook out for the plan. So before I get into the goals, I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things. As I mentioned, this is focused on external marketing and communications for the district only. There'll be separate plans for internal comms and crisis communications. So again, this plan is focused on the district as a whole, and we carve out specific campaigns and plans for issues such as PFAS as they're needed. So this document is meant to be more global, and as we need to kind of carve things out, those get their own plans and campaigns. The goals are intended to be reviewed every 3 years. But the strategies and tactics will be reviewed annually mid-year to align for budgeting and sort of retracking and things such as that. So what are the goals? 5, demonstrate the value of the work we do for public health and the environment and the importance of long-term investments in wastewater infrastructure and initiatives. 2, build an understanding of, appreciation for, and trust in the work of the district. Number 3 is increase customer communities, elected officials, and stakeholders' awareness of our work and issues that impact the area. Number 4, communicate and demonstrate that we are responsible fiscal stewards for our customers and accountable for our investments. And number 5, inspire and educate the public to make behavioral changes and take actions that benefit themselves, the district, the community, and our shared water resources. So here on the right side of the screen, you kind of see, this is a little snapshot from the actual plan itself. So you'll see the goal number 1, and then you've got a couple check boxes. So we have it right there to see how it aligns with the strategic plan. And then you've got this sort of chart with the strategies, tactics, and just some notes. So I did share shop this plan with New Water, as well as other colleagues of my colleagues in the field. I was also able to get a copy of an older communications plan from Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. If you're on Twitter and you follow them, you know they're quite active. They do really great communications. So it was really refreshing to see their plan. I also solicited feedback from our pollution prevention team and the resource team, and this has also been shared with the executive team. So the plan is already moving forward and being implemented, and I just kind of wanted to provide a few examples here of what's in the plan. So earlier in this meeting, on the consent portion of the calendar, you awarded a contract that allows us to move forward with redesigning the public-facing website, madsewer.org. And that redesign is a key strategy in the plan. And it also supports a number of other tactics. For instance, goal 2, which was to build understanding and appreciation and trust in the district, and goal 3, which was increasing customer communities, elected officials, stakeholders awareness of the work. In the new site, we will be building some dashboards. So that operations dashboard that the commission sees at the end of each month, we're going to translate that into a dashboard that will be publicly available. We'll also be creating a capital projects dashboard, so that gives the public and our customer communities a visual representation of where we are in our communities and their work that they're doing. So if one day they see a sewer pipe is no longer in the ground, or that they're doing work, they could then come to our website and within a few clicks be able to see what the project is, how it's progressing, things such as that. Another example is the E-Team recently received an update from our Inclusion and Diversity Committee on the culture audit that they completed last year. And it was really refreshing to see that some things that came out in the culture audit were actually things that I had already incorporated into had baked into the communications and marketing plan. For instance, we'll be auditing our communications and then be looking to devise a plan for translation of some materials. We want to make sure that we're reflecting the communities that we serve, and we know that that's something that we can definitely improve on. So we'll also be looking to build up our library of imagery to better reflect our communities. So that's another thing that was really nice to see between the culture audit and the plan. And just a third and last example is providing resources to our customer communities. It's actually something that came out in a survey that we did pretty early on in the pandemic. And so goal 3, which is really about customer communities, stakeholders, and increasing our awareness, have built some things into there, such as communications toolkits that they can use to help with P2 initiatives or any projects that might be in their area, as well as kind of creating like at a glance one-pagers so they have a better understanding of our budget and things like that. So when they are going to their own committees or to their own constituents, they have that information readily available to them. So those are just 3 examples. Again, this plan is running, it's on the ground, it's running. And so I just wanted to see if anyone had any quick questions. Otherwise, that's my update on the communications and marketing plan.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so that'll take us to the nice job, Amanda. Good work. Look forward to engaging with that more as the year goes on. Regulatory and legal review, Paul.
Yes, good morning. And I did charge up my headset this time, so we should be in good shape. There's not a lot going on, but I wanted to use this opportunity to just highlight 2 things. One is we're going to continue to monitor the legislative session. And just for those of you that aren't as familiar with the legislative process, this year, as the legislature begins, we are in a budget cycle. So typically the spring session of an odd numbered year would be the budget, and that would be all we do. But this year we've got 2 other things that are going to I think be part of the spring session. One is there's a bunch of carryover bills. As you recall, there were a bunch of things that passed the Assembly. They would have probably passed the Senate, but the Senate did not go back into session because of COVID-related reasons. I suspect that a number of those bills, including a PFAS bill, are likely going to be fast-tracked in this spring session. I don't know that for sure, but that's at least what some folks I'm in touch with are thinking. And the other thing is we have redistricting. So it's going to be a a challenging time. We're going to certainly monitor what's going on. But I think what that all means too is that other substantive bills that are new are probably going to be more likely to show up either in the fall or the following spring session. But we'll monitor and keep on top of it. The other thing I wanted to note just briefly is that on the regulatory side, while there are some new things that we're looking at, including revisions to stormwater, which doesn't directly affect us but has some indirect impacts, is the PFAS surface water rule. Michael mentioned earlier that there is going to be testing at the district and there's testing going on statewide. One of the major purposes for that testing is to inform the economic impact analysis for a proposed rule. And so we will see that be moving forward. And I think it's fair to say that given the fight that we saw both at DNR and at the legislature on the NR 159, which is the PFAS rule on firefighting foam, it's likely that these rules will continue to be somewhat contentious. But we will certainly be monitoring that process and other developments as they come up. And one of the things that, I know that Marty's aware of, but there are a series of guidance documents that the DNR issues periodically, and they just issued some new guidance documents dealing with several wastewater items. And so we're trying to keep track of those as well. So not a lot going on, but I just thought I'd give you that overview as we head into a new year.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Anybody have any questions? Oh, okay, good. That will move us to future meeting schedule, which is usually with the packet. And
Commissioner Hovell.
Yeah, go ahead.
One item I wanted to give the commission a heads up on is at the next meeting, we will be resuming your discussion on how the commission wishes to govern post-COVID with vaccinations coming and discussions over the next couple of months of returning to a normal environment. I know the commission wanted to talk about virtual versus in-person meetings and how to do that. And so that will be on the agenda for the next meeting for your discussion. It'll be a study session, and we want to get a sense of some of your ideas and thoughts. And I'll be serving up some questions or things for you to think about during that meeting, and maybe sending you a pre-meeting survey to get us prepared for that discussion.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So I guess the commissioner could be aware of seeing something in their email on a survey, possibly in anticipation of the next meeting in 2 weeks. Okay, good. So that takes care of future meeting schedule, future agenda topics, other business, and so we're on to adjournment, Tom.
I will move, we adjourn.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by
Commissioner Clark.
Second by Commissioner Clark to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the week.
Stay safe, all. Thank you.
care.
So everybody
Thanks,
stay
everyone.
healthy.
Bye.
Bye.